As always, my name is Sparky, and I'm joined in the commentary booth by none other than Ravel. Rav, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. This is the first time we'll get to see Malaysia in action as a two-piece. Mind you, 2 players only, and they still managed to get top 3. This is a very scary duo in Malaysia, but don't count out Indonesia. They have some very good experience, especially in the player of Onta Bekasi. But they are, of course, seeded 14th, so that seed differential of 11 definitely quite jarring, but we'll see what they can do to try and maybe cause a bit of an upset against Malaysia.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit of retooling on the side of Indonesia. Like you mentioned, Onta Bekasi, the almost eternal mainstay for that Indonesian roster in the 7-key scene. And they may be a bit of a hill to climb, but definitely not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination. Meanwhile, on the side of Malaysia, you do have that dynamic duo, Neoki and Chiwi, looking to try and make what could potentially be a final run in a 7-key World Cup, at least as a duo. We've seen them before, going back many years at this point. And it looks like we're getting into the protects and bans. It looks like LN1 is going to be protected by Indonesia.
Yeah, I think that's understandable. Indonesia have been very close to Malaysia in terms of the LN qualifiers, especially. Like for stage 4, Malaysia were 5th, Indonesia were 10th. Stage 7, Malaysia were 3rd, Indonesia were 9th. So not too far off on those. But when it comes to Rice, Malaysia have a really... They have the upper hand against Indonesia when it comes to Rice. But they are protecting Hybrid 3.
Yeah, maybe having some tricks up their sleeve, maybe just wanting to keep some of those options open in those hybrids. Like you mentioned, they're probably going to want to stick to this upper half of the map pool, but knowing Indonesia, if they did their homework, we're probably going to see a Rice ban come out. I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw a Wave Tapper just removed immediately.
Yeah, as for Malaysia's ban, definitely the bottom half of the pool will be considered.
Yeah, because he's like
I think hybrids are fine.
Yeah, hybrids should be. Yeah. Oh, but actually, Rice 1 gonna get removed from the pool. Now this makes sense. Usually, in showdowns like this, Rice 1, Rice 2, you usually have like straightforward speed, you have chord stream. They're the easiest, quote-unquote, skill sets for a lot of players to kind of latch onto. So if you don't want to get into a bit of a duel to bring your opponent back into the fold with something that they're probably also comfortable on, it makes sense to remove it, keep some of the techier picks, something like 9Dump and New York in this pool. And also importantly, you keep Wave Tapper there as well. So we'll see what Indonesia gets rid of.
In terms of tech accuracy, Malaysia on stage 1, Malaysia were 8th, Indonesia were 13th. So quite close. The biggest disparity when it comes to the qualifiers are just Malaysia being 2nd on hybrid, Indonesia were 15th. And then mixed Rice, Malaysia were 3rd, Indonesia were 19th.
Yeah, so there are some avenues there. And Rice 4 is actually going to get banned out here. So no 9Dump gonna be allowed to be played. And that will do it for the protects and bans. Indonesia up for the first pick. Let's see what they're gonna start things off with here. Wouldn't be surprised if we just saw a straight LN pick. It's just a matter of which one they want to go for here.
Yeah, also very nice to see every single category only has 3 maps with those 2 Rice map bans.
True. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. But for right now, Indonesia really taking a second to think here how they want to start things off, maybe reconsidering some of their options. But before too long, it's going to be LN2. It's going to be Boodle coming out here.
Alright, according to the notes, standard early game LN density.
Yeah, so something
this should definitely be up on Bekasi's lane.
Honestly, I think all 3 of the LN maps should be favorable for a player like Onta Bekasi, but yeah, it's just a matter of, do they have a second to back them up should things go maybe a little awry? We know what you see is what you get on the side of Malaysia. It's going to be Nyoki and Chiwi going through all these maps. Now it looks like they are ready. It's going to be Dominance backing up onto Bekasi on the side of Indonesia. MP Star Command comes out, and we are underway with the first map of this best of 9. First team to 5 points will be seeing themselves through to the quarterfinals in that winner's bracket. Right now, very strong starts all across the board. Chiwi and Nyoki hanging on to this 99.8 through the first 400 combo. Indonesia not too far behind, only accounting for about 1,000 points, inside of 1,000 points between both of these rosters as they start to even out just a little bit here. But Dominance finds the first break very early on. That's gotta give Malaysia a bit of wiggle room to work with now.
Yeah, and Dominance's accuracy tanked all the way down to 99.3. Chiwi still holding a 99.89, almost 99.9. And Neo and Onta are just cancelling each other out, so that difference that we see on the screen is due to Dominance's miss.
Yeah, top half versus bottom half affair at the moment, and it's working in Malaysia's favor at the moment to the tune of about 10,000 points. As we cross the midway point of the map, things calm down for just a brief moment before picking right back up where it left off. And it looks like things are staying relatively the same. Dominance still lingering in that 99.3 range. That is accounting for the majority of this lead at the moment. If they can pick it back up, they can start chipping away at this lead and hope for a miss from the side of Malaysia. But at the moment, as we make our way into the last quarter of the chart, things staying relatively the same. Gonna need to hope for something on the other side to try and make a comeback here.
Yeah, the difficulty of this map definitely stays quite constant throughout. Neo does find a miss, but it may be... Oh, actually, another miss. But it could just be a bit too little though. Potentially
too little too late. Last eighth of the chart coming through here. Those were really clean drops, potentially just slider breaks too, so not accounting for too much damage to their overall score. They're still hanging on to about a 10,000 score lead. As we make our way through this outro, there aren't going to be any more significant drops. And it looks like Malaysia would be picking up the first break point in this match to make it 1-0.
That is some godlike ratio from Chiwi.
Oh my.
By far the best in the lobby.
It says something when you can't pick out where those 200s came from. You just assume it's a V1SS. And Malaysia wasting zero time, gonna dive down to their protect. It's going to be Hybrid 3 right out of the gate here.
Alright, this one is higher seed bias pick, high BPM abrasive patterns.
Yeah, it was mentioned during the showcase, this was probably the hardest map in this pool, barring the tiebreaker. So, makes sense for a team like Malaysia to go for it. I mean, wanting to show why they are the number 3 seed, maybe just put Indonesia through their paces and see what they can do in response.
Yeah, it's really about Indonesia's second player, I feel, in this entire match. Because Malaysia are just going to be with these two players for the entirety of today, so it's whether or not Indonesia can keep up.
Yeah, they are definitely capable of doing it. Those opening scores weren't all that bad. It just came down to those couple of drops. They did get answered back, but it was a little bit too much of an accuracy drop. If they can keep those misses clean when they do come, they could potentially open up the door for themselves to sneak a couple points here off of Malaysia as we get into the second map. Let's see how they respond.
Oh, that's a very uncharacteristic miss from Chiwi to begin this map.
Yeah, those ghost taps can kind of bite you a little bit if you're kind of being a little bit lackadaisical with them. It looks like getting a couple of 50s right out of the gate here, gonna drop Chiwi's accuracy down, and those are the kinds of openings that Indonesia are kind of looking for. You want your opponent to be the one to make the first mistake so that you can get something to latch onto, and right now it's about 4,000 points in their favor with both Indonesians holding on to their full combos. Nyoki, the only one on the side of Malaysia at the moment, answering, but Onta's the one to find the miss in response going into the second quarter now.
That is not good at all. Onta was holding the highest accuracy of the lobby, now basically cancelling out Neo. And Dominance's accuracy is not being able to keep up with Chiwi's. Despite the miss, Chiwi now overtaking everybody's accuracy.
Yeah, what was just a tiny blip on the radar, easily overcome by Chiwi as they are very comfortable through this section going into the back half. Dominance finds the drop as well. No more full combos on the side of Indonesia. Anta follows as well. Full combo reset now for the Indonesians as this Malaysian lead starts to grow. Already eclipsing 20,000 points with a third of the chart still left to go here.
Yeah, definitely not looking good for Indonesia. 20,000 points of difference. Neo, the only FC in the lobby.
And overall, pretty average accuracy. There's just one outlier at the moment. Chiwi just standing above everybody at the moment, 2/10 ahead of everybody else, despite having that early drop. And with that, we take a bit of a second to keep everything in sync here. Take stock of the situation. 22,000 points going into the last quarter here at the moment. And I mean, everybody's kind of the same in terms of average accuracy. It's just those couple of misses coming through now that are accounting for a majority of the score lead. And with the bulk of it out of the way, there really aren't that many tricks left up this map sleeve. Just this outro, if you can hit it, keep it relatively clean. Gonna be
and Malaysia. They're keeping it very, very clean.
Yeah, what a way to capitalize on that breakpoint that was given to you to start this match off. As we hit these last couple of patterns, last couple of structures coming through, Malaysia will make it 2-0 now to start this match off. Again, more impressive scores all across the board, but I mean, even with the drops, that is a ridiculous score.
988k and not even an FC.
Just ridiculous. And literally, I mean, look at the ratios. Onto 484, 273, just half of it on the side for Chiwi. It's a level of proficiency that we've seen from them these last couple of years that has just gotten better and better as the years gone by. And now with Indonesia up to pick once again, is it time to maybe change things up a little bit here? We've seen some Ella, we've seen some hybrid. Should we go into some Rice, or do they stick to their guns here? They do have LN1 as their protect, so some options to consider here.
If they want to go for Rice, it has to be tech. Because I don't think Cod Stream will be a good option, so it's mixed Rice. They are going for another hybrid though. Huh.
I mean, I could see it. Maybe it was just a couple of blips from Hybrid 3. As we mentioned, it was the hardest of the hybrids in this pool. Arguably the hardest map of the pool. If you tone down the difficulty a little bit, you bring yourselves back into the fold, turn it back into a bit of an accuracy battle. And if you can hold on to the 2 FCs, that can potentially make all the difference here.
Yeah, this map has a lot of complex patterns. There's mini jacks, varied LN lengths.
That's true.
There's some LN difficulty for sure.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, there are some techier elements found in this map as well. If they were to go for a Rice pick, which they didn't. I mean, even you were saying that they should probably go for something a little bit techier. So maybe this could be an avenue for them to notch a point in this match, but they're going to need to overcome the dynamic duo of Neoki and Chiwi to do it.
So far pretty even, Neo and Dominance cancelling each other out. It's just Chiwi's slight accuracy advantage over Onta.
Yeah, definitely harkening back to LN2 now in terms of how close these openings can be between these two countries. But as we continue on, these LN structures start to kind of chip away at your accuracy. That UR bar starts to spread a little bit as you try and maintain focus and keep the finger coordination in check. And right now, everybody kind of hovering this 99.4 range outside of one person in particular. We look to the bottom left-hand corner of the playing field, and Chiwi 99.8% accuracy, climbing head and shoulders above everybody else at the moment, accounting for a bulk, if not the entirety, of the 7,000 point lead that Malaysia has built up going into the back half.
Yeah, even though Neo is losing out to Onta, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
Kiwi just safely holding this 12,000 point lead.
I mean, Indonesia's not out of it just yet. All we need is one little blip on the side of Malaysia, and that score lead can easily disintegrate. But with a quarter to try left to go, yeah, they also need to hold. They're into the bargain, but Dominance finds the first break. Relatively clean overall, but it basically doubles the advantage for Malaysia going into this outro. And the worst of it is already over. There's maybe a couple more complicated patterns to read through, but it would need to be a complete collapse on the side of Malaysia, and it looks like it is not going to be coming through here as they successfully pick up their second breakpoint in this match to make it 3-0 now.
Once again, another insane score from Chiwi. It's just that the ratio, like, no one is close.
No, not at all. And I mean, everybody else is playing out of their minds. 985, 984K, and then even Dominance with the 150, with the 960. Like, that's about part of the course for what the average score is going to be. Somewhere in that 970K range. It's just next level what is happening here. And Malaysia's immediately going to go for the core jack pick in this pool. It is going to be Rice 3 coming through here.
Do we see a change from Indonesia?
That is a very good question. Anta asking if this is the core jack pick. Confirmed by Chiwi. Yes, this is the core jack pick. Couple of little flourishes here and there, breaking the quote-unquote monotony of all the chords coming through. But
seems like it's the same roster.
Yeah, it looks like there aren't going to be any substitutions. Maybe just mentally preparing themselves, maybe changing some settings to read this a little easier. And it looks like we're going to get this underway after a little bit of shenanigans in the lobby. And a potential match point situation can be secured here by Malaysia. Indonesia looking to try and stop that by any means possible. They have to do it on a pick I feel is going to have some of the highest scores of the weekend.
I mean, from this intro alone, you can already see the accuracy disparity.
Yeah, a couple of 200s here and there. Even just a rush of 300s does so much to swing the score one way or another. I think the name of the game for this pick is misses are not allowed. This is a map that basically everybody in this tournament can comfortably FC on a good day, that any semblance of an accuracy drop will basically decimate your team score. We can already see it. Everybody in that 99.9 range, bar for Dominance 99.7. Not too far behind, but that 0.2% making a boatload of difference at the moment to the tune of about 2,000 points. But as we continue on here, this is the closest lead we have seen between these two countries going into the back half of the chart. And Dominance is starting to climb, 99.8. They're starting to close this gap a little bit on Malaysia. Any semblance of an accuracy drop, any little hiccup can swing this back over to the blue side.
I can definitely say that Malaysia were very gutsy picking this. If it's a Cod Jack map, especially when you think of Cod Jack, you think of the close matches that we've seen in 4K. It's gonna happen in 7K as well, and just one miss from Malaysia can swing this. It's only 3,000 points.
Absolutely. We've seen core jack picks come down to the wire, literal singular point of difference in the past, and can we see it replicated in the 7K World Cup? Remains to be seen. There's still a quarter of the map left to go. As I mentioned before, this is a straightforward core jack pick, but once we near this ending, we start to see a little bit more flourishes come through, some 1-3, 1-4 patterning to try and break up some of the monotony as these chords begin to rain down in more perpetuity. Quarter of the chart left to go. It is the narrowest lead we've seen through these opening 4 picks Indonesia doing everything in their power to hang on as best as they can. It is 399.9s at the moment dotting the landscape. It is 0.2% the difference, making up the 6,000 point lead. And as we approach this ending, last couple of bursts, a couple of 200s from dominance, and it is not going to be enough from Indonesia. Malaysia secure.
Oh my gosh.
What are these ratios? These are ridiculous levels of accuracy.
When you have a team total like of 137 300s. A team total of 137 300s. Like, mind you, Malaysia only have these two players. They don't have anyone else.
Well, you don't need anybody else when you can do stuff like this.
They don't need anyone else. They don't. They just don't.
They are 4,000 points off of 2 million. That is ridiculous. And Indonesia looking to keep themselves alive here. Throw out their protect at the 11th hour. It's going to be LN1. And this is a pick that I feel is going to be avoided at all costs. It is the coordination, the slow coordination pick of the pool. And a lot of things can go wrong here.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. It is Indonesia's pick, like you mentioned.
And we're not going to see any substitutions. So at the moment, 4 Iron folks coming through. Onto Bekasi dominance for Indonesia. Nyoki and Chiwi for Malaysia. And this is, as I mentioned, a slow coordination pick. The amount of concentration that you need to not break at any given moment is ridiculous. The amount of control you need on your fingers to not let go of a key at any given time is at a premium. There's not a lot of combo to go through. You are basically not allowed to miss after the 50% mark, lest you doom your team to losing.
Yeah, the Troll 2-star map.
Yeah, it's like, it's 2 stars. How hard could it be? Wait and see. It looks like...
It does seem like... Yeah. Could be just classic Southeast Asian internet. I mean, this is a Southeast Asian clash.
That is true. And we all know that connection issues are a thing. I think right now we might just need to kick Dominus from the lobby and then just bring him back in. The score was recorded. We know that Malaysia won the last pick. We don't need to deliberate on that. Hopefully they can get in so we can continue what has been a very exciting match so far. The score line might not reflect how close some of these maps have been, but as we continue on here, we wait to see.
Yeah, the worst case scenario is Indonesia having to field another player in replacement. Which isn't great, especially when you just picked your protect.
That is true. You had a game plan going into it, and now potentially having to do a last-minute substitution. We are still waiting. It might just be a case of maybe forcefully adding them into the lobby, but we'll get it straightened out. At the moment, I mean, how fitting this song is for this moment. Indonesia back against the wall, needing to reverse sweep the number 3 seed to get to the tiebreaker.
More than just another try.
That's true. This has to be the attempt of all attempts from Indonesia to keep this match going. And
yeah, we would like to mention though that this is still upper bracket, so if Indonesia do lose, they still have another opportunity next week.
that is very true. They would just drop down into that lower bracket, and oh boy, that lower bracket is looking mighty scary. And of course, if you are looking forward to some more action, we will be back at 1 UTC after this match, but it looks like we are able to get Dominance back into the lobby. Hopefully they can ready up. We can get into this 5th map of this best of 9. Malaysia on the precipice of booking their ticket into the winners quarterfinals. It is real EP hours.
I mean, it is what, midnight? Midnight for Malaysia, 11:25 PM for Indonesia. Very EP hours.
Very EP. And it looks like we are going to be able to get it underway. Good luck to all the players. Let's see how this turns out.
Let's see if Indonesia could give this one more fight. But we can essentially recap everything we just went through. This is the coordination LN pick. Control is key. Very, very important to make sure that you have all focus on all of the releases of these LNs.
Yeah, there aren't too many tricks up this map sleeve. It really is just a game of not releasing at the wrong time. And we're going to start seeing some cross-map battles here. We see Neoki and Dominance lingering in this 98% range, some maybe 200s dotting their landscapes as they try and keep this combo afloat. And Anta and Chiwi duking it out. Anta actually winning the battle between the two of them. About 0.2% ahead at the moment as we make our way into the second quarter of the chart. As I mentioned, there aren't a lot of room missing, and Dominance is going to find the first slider break in this map. It's going to take a really long time now for them to get back up over that 400 combo cap, if they can even make it at this point. I'm sure there's enough combo left for them to claim, but as Neoki and Chiwi cross that 400 combo mark, they're going to start getting full credit for their judgments along with Anta Bikasi, and this is really where they're going to be able to stretch their lead out for every note that passes through with Dominance not at that mark. It's just going to help grow this lead. It's already 14,000 points. It's going to grow basically until the end unless one of them finds a drop here. Last third left to come through here. The accuracy is not the most stellar as we have seen from this Malaysian roster, but it is doing the job at the moment with Anta doing everything in their power to keep this lead as close as possible. Highest accuracy by about 0.1% at the moment. But Malaysia's doing the job at the moment. Quarter of the map left to go here.
Yeah, that lead has skyrocketed to 20,000 points. Even though Anta is holding MVP of this lobby, it's just second player syndrome, hurting Indonesia a lot.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but I mean, that is the risk you take when you go for a map pick like this. There isn't a lot of room for error, and unfortunately, they were the first ones to blink in the battle, and when it's all said and done, it will be Malaysia picking up the 3rd breakpoint necessary to punch their ticket into the quarterfinals by a scoreline of 5-0. Knocking Indonesia down into that lower bracket. Not out of it just yet. Just going to need to make the run from here on out. Congratulations to Malaysia.
Yeah, also shoutouts to Chiwi and Anta for both getting V1 double S's.
First ones of the match. What a time to do it. Just some incredible levels of performance and some pretty crazy consistency out of all players involved. But that will do it for the Saturday block of matches. We are officially almost halfway done with the weekend already. As I mentioned during the brief little break that we had,